me ladies, we are back on another episode. My name is Stella, and here you're going to bloom in godly femininity, in faith, in beauty, and in lifestyle. Welcome to this episode. I have missed you. It has been like 2 weeks. I want you to know, guys, that doing these videos actually refreshes me, and it also expands my capacity, and my faith is strengthened each and every time I take a step to just film this video. So welcome. Let's get in the soul. The last episode we talked about the spirit man, that God part in you that shouldn't be ignored at all, and now we are in the soul part, how to pour into yourself in the soul. And the soul is you. The spirit is the God part, but now the soul is you. Your whole personality, your emotions are here, how you perceive things, your way of thinking, your mindsets, your memories, things that you have picked up. Why are we able to remember our childhood? Because our souls were involved in it, that we can remember these are the things that happened when I was a child. This is where your will is, that ability to want to go after things, that ability to want to go after life, go after dreams, chase after God, chase after your career. All of that is in your soul, the will to be able to do things. And your personality, this is who you are. Whether you're an introvert, you're an extrovert, you're just a quiet person, you like this kind of environment, I like this kind of an environment. I'm more of a visual person, I'm more of a reading person. I understand things when they are written down, not when they are shown to me. Just your taste and your preferences. I prefer this type of clothes, I prefer this type of clothes, I prefer this type of music, I prefer this type of music. I like this kind of food, I like traveling, I don't like traveling. This is the whole person. You as a person is in the soul. Okay. And you remember when we read Genesis chapter 2 verse 7, we said that the Spirit of the Lord breathed upon a man, and the man became a living being. The man became a living soul. Okay. So we see that the soul is not void of the Spirit of God. It's like there is supposed to be a connection between these two, the spirit and the soul. There is supposed to be a connection. So your soul cannot govern itself. Your soul cannot run itself. Your soul has to be governed by the Spirit of the Lord, because at the end of the day, we see that it's the Spirit of the Lord that produced a soul in a living being. So in a human being. So the soul was never to be independent of the Spirit of the Lord. And where many people in our generation are actually failing hard. We are our soul is either being governed by ourselves, our soul is either being governed by the things that we picked up while growing up, our souls are being governed by the system, the world, the things that we watch, the people that we follow. That is what our soul is being governed by, because the soul is always looking for somewhere to just rest. It's wondering, where am I going to get my satisfaction? Who am I going to look at in order to show me the way? That is the soul. Okay. So one thing is that your soul was never to be independent of God. Okay. And the personality that God has given you, the emotions that God has given you, the mind, your will, and all of these things, they were meant to be influenced by the Spirit of God. So we see that the soul is supposed to be in the confines of God. And when the soul is not in the confines of God, is not in the boundaries of God, it has the ability to go extremes, either in a negative way or in a positive way, but mostly it's always in a negative way. You can see that in our world right now, okay? When our soul is not in the confines of God, in the boundaries of God, being governed by God, you have seen how the soul is able to go in in extreme, in negativity, in all things, because as we see, the way the world is going is just getting darker and darker and darker and darker. And you can see it in the news, in our families, in how people think, in how people perceive things, in how not many people are perceiving God in like our generation right now. Our families are kind of messed up, our systems are so messed up. All of that is just an expression of a soul that has not been governed by God, or is not in the governance of the Spirit of the Lord. So when your soul is not in the governance of the Spirit of the Lord, mostly you choose that which is going to actually bring death to you. Okay? So we see that your mind should be influenced by God. Your emotions should be influenced and also regulated by God. Okay? Your personality too. God should at least be able to show you the different, a different perspective, especially if your personality is working against you. For example, I'm a person who just likes being inside, and probably being inside is not healthy for me. It's kind of causing my mind to be clouded, to be not to think clearly, or it's just affecting my health, because a normal human being needs to be outside, at least enjoy nature, see what God has created. So God should be able to your soul should be so inclined to God that God can cause you to see, a different way of life. That if this is not working for my good, because God is actually leading me to a path that can give me life, I can give it up and say, you know what, this habit is not working for me. So I can lay it down in order to actually pick up that which is going to give me life. When the soul works outside of God, you're going to walk in misfunction, in dysfunction, and you're going to find anything to just give you meaning and a purpose in this life. Okay. Where am I going to pour myself into? That is where we begin idolizing stuff. I'm just going to give myself into work. I'm just going to give myself into this project. I'm just going to give myself to my children. I'm just going to give myself to anything, just anything that is going to feel something inside of me. That is what I'm going to do. Okay. And those things, mind you, those things are not bad. But if they're not surrendered to God, then nothing. There is nothing. You have just made them an idol in your life. And since we are in a human experience, we have picked up many things in the world. We have picked up, probably you were not brought up in a stable family, let's say. Probably you went in an environment that kind of changed your way of thinking and how you see life. You are a human being. You have picked up things from when you're a child up to when you're adult. You have picked up things in the people you follow, the people you look up to, and they have formed a way of thinking. They have formed a way of how you see things, and that is also in a negative and also in a positive way, because you might have picked up a bad mindset that has caused you to believe, what, this is actually normal in this life. It's normal to struggle because I have seen struggle all my life. Our family has struggled, and if also I'm going to struggle, then that is normal to me. You have not known stability your whole life. And when somebody tells you that, it's there is a life where you can actually be stable, or you actually meet people who bring stability in your life, you're not able to dwell in that because you have picked up things while you were growing up. That is a matter of the soul. Some of you have picked up mindsets like, what, if I fail, I'm not going to try that thing again. If I fail, that is the end of life, and the ability to pick up yourself again is not there at all. That is just an issue and a matter of the soul that only can be solved by God restoring you. Some of us, our minds have been governed by the world, have been governed by just what one person says. We cannot change our mind. We have made people our idols. We have made many things, celebrities our idols. We have made the news our idols. Whatever we see in the news, we believe it. And sometimes it can even affect our soul negatively, that we will not even be able to see, like, wow, where is God in our world right now? So your mind can be affected, your heart can also be affected, your thoughts can also be affected, how you view yourself can also be affected, your abilities can also be affected by probably people's opinions that you picked up while you are growing up. And all of this can determine how life is going to turn out for you. Okay? Also, your emotions. Some of us, we have grown, in families where we were taught how to hear you don't speak up. So as an adult, you just grow up and you're just like, even if somebody does me wrong, I'll just sit down with my emotions and never speak up. We have probably been brought up in families where we speak our mind, whether it's going to hurt somebody, whether it's not good, whether it's good or bad. We have just been taught to speak up, and we do not even, and we grow up and we are not even mindful of our words towards other people. As long as we have spoken our minds, then it's okay. For others, we have grown in anxious families that each and every time it's just you just think you're doing something wrong, and you have to seek validation from somebody to just tell you that everything is going to be all right. That is the part of your emotions and all of that. If you find yourself with misplaced emotions, and before you know it, you have either become numb, or you are either tearing down everything, or trying to escape it without God. You find yourself even becoming worse and worse and worse and worse. So you have seen that soul is a you part, but you can't just be on your own self. Somebody else has to govern you. The Spirit of God has to govern you. God Himself has to govern that part of the soul inside of you. Otherwise, you're not going to be living a life in abundance. You're just going to be living pieces, in pieces, or just trying to find rest for your soul. So, how do you pour into yourself in the soul as a woman of God? A woman who yearns for God, guys. Yeah? So first of all, we know that the soul needs governance. Who is governing you? Who is dictating how or what life is to you? Who is influencing your thoughts? And if God is not the source of all of these things, then there is something that is going on wrong. Okay, so how do you pour into yourself in the soul part of you. Okay.